my true purpose in life is to pay it forward, and I'm going to share some discoveries I've had in the last few weeks because this #1 international bestseller thing just came about. I wasn't even ready for it. I'm just a normal guy that puts my pants on just like you, one leg at a time. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Thank you. So it's a real pleasure to be here, and I just wanted to start out by asking a couple questions so I can get a feel for who's in the audience today. So how many people are actually working on their first deal? If you could just raise your hand, that'd be great. Awesome. How many people have done a couple deals? Awesome. And how many people are here to really scale their business? Awesome. Cool. So I'm not going to talk a lot about real estate today, but I'm really here for one reason, to inspire you. I'm so fascinated with Partners Driven and what they do, and it's really about a system, and that's why I'm here today, to talk about their system a little bit and how it really applies, because without a system, you really can't go anywhere. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So I think we should be set to go, and what I wanted to tell you a little bit about my goal today, which is really to do this. And we'll get started. So I looked it up in the dictionary last night, and what really intrigued me is, to do something creative. So I wanted to ask, who's ever creative, can you give me like an I? Can you say I? Everybody, that doesn't sound too creative. Does everybody feel creative today? Give me an I. That's good. Awesome. So you're going to be pretty fascinated, and you may have heard of it. But what I wanted to talk to you about today was syndication, and something that I discovered about 30 years ago. And the best part is anybody could take advantage of it, and it doesn't compete with what you're doing. It actually just puts a little icing on the cake. And syndication, if you haven't heard of it, is really just a means and method of making a transaction in real estate, any type of real estate, with using minimal money. Most people are always trying to find the money, and what I found is a way that you can do it with not a lot. Because when I got started, I didn't have any. I started with $10 a week, and I'll tell you a little bit about my story in a minute. But, if people knew this, there would really be a frenzy, and this is one of the reasons why Jack Canfield, who you've probably heard of, creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul, put his name on my front cover. He's somebody that really inspired me. And at first I thought it was my ego, but I'm going to tell you the secret why I wrote it in a little while. So the beauty of real estate is, there's just tremendous odds of being successful. I don't know whose water's wet, so I might be kissing somebody, but the beauty of real estate is it has a very low cost of entry. And, there's some great odds that you've probably read about over the centuries of people being successful. And it's really just about finding, funding, and facilitating. It's something that I've really focused on over the last 30 years, how to find deals effortlessly, how to fund them, find unlimited funds, and how to facilitate that whole process. And what I've done over the years, I've created some programs and things, but I'm here to show you really how the modern wealth building formula blankets what I would say what you can do in real estate, but we're focused on what I kind of call what Partners Driven is doing, is almost what I coined as micro development. They have a unique system, they wholesale, they buy and sell, and I've put their name next to my system because I really truly believe in what they do. And the beauty of it is that I get to share, my story today with you, and hopefully inspire you to really go out there and make a lot of deals with Partners Driven, because the main thing is you're dealing with trustworthy people, and without integrity it doesn't work, and when you're dealing with people in integrity, that's why Warren Buffett can do like a $13 billion deal in 10 days when there's trust, right? That's a big factor. My system is, it's really, it's a little bit of top-down thinking. It's really a syndication model, but like I said, the second component is really the find, fund, and facilitate system. But I want to tell you how it all started. So, I grew up in a two-family house in a small town in Highland Park, New Jersey. By the time, you from Jersey? My wife's from Piscataway, man. Let's talk. But, and by the time I got to fourth grade, I was in reading remedial courses, started struggling. My parents really couldn't afford to, send me to tutoring. By the time I got to eighth grade, I had to take algebra over 2 years. I remember the guidance counselor making my mom cry, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life. But, I finally get into college, and I was on the 6-year plan. And, thank God I met my wife in year 3. I was taking Calculus 2 for the 3rd time. I was cheating on her paper, and when I got my paper back, she asked me how I did. I was like 55. She's like, well, if you came to class once in a while, you might do a little better, But I said I got really good notes because I had taken it a couple times. But fast forward, every week, she was also in my physics class. I'd say, hey, I got the answers to the quiz. She's like, nah, I'm going to derive the formula. I'm like, you're crazy. But end of the semester, she had the final. So we literally, before me, we kidnapped her as she was coming out of the room, my friend and I, got all the answers for the test, did well in the physics exam, did get an A on my calculus exam just to get barely a C. But she taught me how to study. And this was when I had one more year to get out. But it was a lot of fun. And then life started, and I got married. I couldn't have kids, and I was a civil engineer, and I was in construction, and I didn't really know about real estate. I had read Robert Allen, No Money Down, when I was 18 years old, but I went to college and worked, and then got a job as a civil engineer, drawing on a board. I couldn't have kids at 27. We found out, that we had to do Clomid, and 4 years later, I got blessed with twins. But, I was in a lot of debt. I couldn't even afford to buy formula and diapers. It was just a little hectic. And one of my hobbies as a kid, I was a magician. So I was entertaining at nights in restaurants after building buildings all day long in New York City to make a couple extra bucks. And believe it or not, this is not Halloween. This is me dressed as a clown performing clown magic and doing face painting to make some extra bucks. So it got a little hectic, and we did what we had to do, But things changed pretty rapidly, and it was this book that I found in the library. I'm not proud of it, but when I found it, it was in 1996. I had taken the professional engineer's exam 5 times. That's because I kept failing it. And when I finally passed, I had to go get my transcript at New Jersey Institute of Technology. And for some reason, I'm like, let me go to the library across the street at Rutgers, And this book was on the shelf, and it was on syndication, and it said one thing, that an expert can be a builder. I was a builder, And I'm like, wow, maybe I could do this real estate thing. I didn't really know anything about it. But 2 years later, I had developed a 113-bed assisted living and made over $1.5 million. And I got fascinated night after night on how I figured out how to earn fees 9 different ways and how I could create this for myself. And I told my story on the golf course to a guy. I actually got invited to play in a golf outing. I had no money. I felt guilty, but my mother-in-law asked me to go play golf. And I figured I'll get a free lunch and a round. And I'm playing golf, and during the outing, I started to daydream and say, maybe I could join a country club one day, At the end of the round, they had this $5,000 executive special. I convinced my wife to throw it on a credit card. And about 4 weeks in, on my 4th round of playing at this new country club, I told my story, and this guy gave me $100,000. And with that $100,000, I went and bought this 12-acre site. And I never looked back. I raised $400,000 to get a team and approval in place. I raised another $400,000 to get the drawings done, and then another $600,000 to close the loan with the New Jersey Economic Development Agency. 1 year later, had it completed, fully furnished, and I was in business. And then I was celebrating in Hawaii with Tony Robbins, and I lost my best friend, and the World Trade Center collapsed. And I had a waterfront property in Staten Island called Bay Street Landing. And when this happened, I was in Hawaii, and I realized that $500,000 was gone, along with my friend. And I didn't really know what to do at that point, other than I didn't watch this vision on TV for over 10 years because that's what Tony said. He says, your feelings are based on what you focus on. And if I was going to watch this, I wasn't going to be able to help anybody. So there was many days I was parked in a garage crying, figuring out how I was going to lead the people around me, because there was just all these memorials going up in New Jersey about all the people that died. It was a pretty crazy time, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, to say the least. And then I developed this project on 240 Park Avenue South. It was the most amazing thing. Tom Brady came to look at the penthouse. It had a pool. Him and Giselle walked in my office. They didn't end up buying it. They wanted to go a little higher up. But it was my success again. And shortly thereafter, I invested all the money and had 3 bridge loans with Lehman Brothers. And in 2008, one day I thought I was having a heart attack. I pretty much lost everything I had, but, I didn't lose my pride, and, I didn't, really lose my drive and my, I would say, inspiration. And that's why I'm here to give you a little bit today. So, it took me to my knees, but I was fortunate to go work for a guy I was a senior vice president for a few years and build a building at 1055 Park Avenue that actually made it onto Millionaire's listing. And I was really, really excited because I rebounded from that. And, and I had a spiritual calling actually into New Jersey, and I became CEO and partner of a company called Flippin' USA. And we did like about 137 deals in 1 year. And then through this journey I had of skyscrapers and commercial and land development, I was sitting there one day and I just came up with this idea, to write a book. But it was really against all odds that I had, built all these buildings, and I looked back and I was like, holy cow, what happened? I never even recognized it myself. Sometimes in life we develop what's called like a strong suit. We white knuckle ourselves through life, and we don't even recognize all of our accomplishments. Probably half of you in this audience or more don't recognize how great you are. It's important that you pat yourself on the back, especially for being here today. It's serious. Give yourself a hand. Oops. So this thing popped out of me after a year of, I would say I disconnected a little bit from everybody. I realized that at the holidays when my family looked at me and said, who's at the table? It wasn't that bad. I have an outstanding family. I've been married for, didn't tell you anything really about myself, but with my wife for 38 years. We've been married 33. I have, thank you very much. I have 3 amazing kids. I had the twins. My son is an Eagle Scout, graduated Citadel, and is now a U.S. Intelligence Marine officer, serving our country. Love him. His twin sister, so proud of her, she taught culinary medicine. No one even knows about it, but it's going to change the world. And she's marrying a doctor, just really excited. She's doing her master's. And my youngest is an equine specialist, rides horses, and just is doing her MBA up in Syracuse. So back to this, so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. My second shift's busy, and it's now a time in my life where I get to pay it forward, especially to my kids, but they're doing pretty good for themselves. But so this book popped out, and I'm really excited about it. It took a year, and there's an opportunity for you guys to get a copy later. But I want to give you just a little bit, about, what people are kind of doing to be successful in real estate, right? And I don't want to read this to you, but, I'll just run through these things real quick. But, one of the things that I do is I always invest money each year into my own personal development, and you guys are doing it right now, so you guys are taking care of number 1 here, right? And I think it's really important because, even like as late as last week, I just discovered like why I wrote the book. I really, I know they asked me, why do you want to write the book? But it's now, I figured out different than why I thought I was writing the book. And I'll share that because it chokes me up. And you're kind of getting the story, and you'll probably be able to put it together. But one of the things that I actually try to do now more is sleep. But for years, I didn't sleep much. I was a kind of a 5 o'clock in the morning automatic alarm clock. They say billionaires wake up at 5 o'clock or even earlier. But, 1 or 2 hours less sleep each day, not saying that you don't want to get 6 or 7 hours, really adds up, as far as time. And over the years, it makes a big difference. But, and it's really the desire. I mean, I don't have to, you guys all have the desire because you're here, But the reason I'm showing you these things isn't necessarily to beat a dead horse or to preach to the choir. It's so that you can pass this on to other people, right? And then the other thing which is really important and what you guys are tapping into is all about the systems and really what I believe in systems. And I'll just give you a little bit, on what I think systems does. But, just, with all the things that I have going on in my life, if I didn't have the systems, you could really spend a lot of time. Probably Ralph thinks like I do. He's like, delegate, like eliminate, delegate, automate, right? Right? And that's what we have to think in life with the technology. I heard, Peter saying you really can't compete with the technology, so you'd have to use it, Oops. And it's really, it's that the real important thing is if you're not using systems, you're gonna increase the odds of failing. So, I just think it's really important. I took a minute, and I just want you to take a minute to see, how systems can help you in many different ways. There's systems out there to help you find deals. I've heard that today. We got driving for dollars. There's some massive great things coming off the press here this weekend, I understand. And that's key. And really, the second item is a little bit related to the syndication, 2 and 3. But, really, the system helps you craft your vision, right? Because without having a clear vision on what you want, a lot of times, gets us stuck. We kind of just sit there because we're not clear on what we do. A lot of times, our vision is around the corner, and we're afraid to get to the first corner to look down the block. Sometimes you got to take 3 steps to get to the 7th step, but we don't know that we have to take those first 3 steps, right, in order to see what we really feel and see. See, no one sees your vision, right? A lot of times we want people to see it, but they just don't see it. You got to give them grace into not seeing your vision, right? But don't lose your vision. Get clearer on your vision, right? So, all about systems. I mean, my system, it's been proven system for wholesaling and fixing and flipping. This was the office that I had. We used to have a lot of fun, TV studios and ping pong tables, and kind of doing what you guys are doing, having fun. You got to have fun in real estate. You really do, right? Because society's hectic enough with with earthquakes and political environment and North Korea and all that kind of good stuff. So we got to have some fun, and be happy. It took me about 50 years to find. So if there's anything I could do to help you guys accelerate it, let's do it. But here's a house that I bought from the auction a couple of years, 2 years ago, and my system, I syndicated it. I never used my own money. Here was a commercial building I did years ago that it worked on. I love doing it for land entitlement. I have 2 deals going on right now where I just basically lock up the land, draw some cartoons, go in to the planning board, get the approval, and the value usually jumps $1 million. You can make money really quick. But it works. And it works for skyscrapers, because the best part is what you guys do. It's all you're going to do is do it 30 times and put it on top of each other, and you can build a skyscraper. It's just the same thing over and over again. It just takes a little longer. Is this making sense to anybody? Yeah. All right, cool. Anybody getting inspired? Yeah. All right, awesome. So let's just look at why are certain people not successful, right? It's a little bit about what we're talking about, right? There's only so many hours during the day, right? And, we have to find time for our family. We got, work on, I hate to use the word balance. I use the wheel of life, Tony Robbins' wheel of life. You got that wheel has to be rolling. If part of it's flat, things just aren't, rolling as well, right? So, you got to have some balance. But I just find that the systems, and most of the time, Another thing that I find is that we're unaware of knowledge that's available to us, right? So then we get scared, and then we can go into the whole fear conversation. But the reality is there's only two primary fears, like you're not enough and that you're going to fail. Once you know failure doesn't exist, it's just a matter of changing your approach, and that you are enough, you're actually great, then failure doesn't exist, right? And then it's, the system and the mentorship and the facilitation and the community that you're building here, right? So you guys are running on all cylinders and headed in the right direction. So that's good stuff. And then, I just wanted to tell you, you're going to have choices going forward, right? You can do nothing, change nothing. You could just stay where you're at today, right? And that's a high cost. Like for some of you that haven't done a deal yet, you might not ever do your first deal. Those who have done one may not do another one, and you can keep thinking about scaling your business, but it's probably not going to scale because there's a very fine line between, look, when you live in a world of performance. I think Peter said black or white, but it's action or inaction, right? In the world of performance. You're either taking action or not. Choice number two is you go out alone, which you guys are not doing, right? You guys are working with Julie and Peter and Ralph, and when you do it alone, you always run the risk of getting your money trapped, right? And the best part here is they're giving you money. So that's another great thing. And, choice number three, I'm not good with the clicker here, get some help. So this other picture really, I found it last night. This is like one of the biggest celebrations that I could see. And I just literally want to celebrate. I want you guys to give yourself a hand and just a little celebration here for coming here today. It's just amazing. It is a celebration, this community, and I'm just really, really happy to be here. So I'm not sure how much time I have. I may have raced through that a lot quicker, but what I've done is I wrote this report called The 11 Secrets and the 50 Pitfalls. But if you're interested in this report, if you text KVL 2020 to that phone number right now, that report will come right to your telephone.
I can try to do the video again. We got the sound running this time.
Oh, you do? It sounds great. You want to give it a shot?
Yeah, let's give a chance for everyone to grab that number so you guys can get this report from Ken.
I can bring that back, slide up, because then I got one other thing if you want. Or will we lose this spot? Oh, you know what? I'll tell you what. Let me do two. Does everybody have that number?
Yeah.
So take a picture of that. I really hope this. The importance of this report, you probably know some of the secrets. What you don't know is the 60 pitfalls to avoid, right? And the whole key is not making mistakes if you can avoid them, right? I've learned a lot from making mistakes. And then the last thing that I wanted to tell you before he plays the video, So what I've done is I brought 100 free books. If you're interested, I think this book would give you a wealth of knowledge, and I'll now tell you why I wrote the book, all right? So the reason I wrote the book was I didn't realize this until I was forced into a meditation last week by this high-level person I work with, and I really found out that I wrote the book because of that kid in fourth grade who had the remedial reading problem, and the guy who couldn't do algebra, and the guy that lost all his money. But I wrote the book so that I hope that my book is the book on your shelf that changes your life. And that's why I wrote the book. But I discovered that last week. And, I have some copies. Now, I hope I have enough, but if I don't, and if you don't mind, I would love to keep in touch with you. So I have a form that I was going to hand out. If you're interested in the book, she's handing out a form. Just fill that out. You can come see me at the table. I'd be glad to give you a free book. And if you want to take a photo, you're welcome to that also. But I just want to thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak today. And I guess we'll watch the introduction video on my way out. So thank you very much.